Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Dan Hooker up against Claudio Puelles this weekend at UFC 281. It's a really nice test for you, Dan. He's a bit of a knee bar specialist, great grappler. What was your reaction when you saw his name on the contract?
Definitely excited. He's an exciting young kid. These are the kind of people that I enjoy getting out there with. He's not a boring fighter by any stretch of the imagination. He's on a good run. The knee bar. There's not many. It's an intriguing challenge. It's exciting for me. It's not knee bar is not something that you see often, let alone consistently in someone's career. So it's a tough challenge.
Do you think he'll be willing to bang with you, or do you think it will be a classic case of him trying to get you to the ground as quick as possible?
I think he's shown some pretty steady development in his striking recently. So I wouldn't. I'm not holding on to anything with certainty. I understand that he might come forward and look to strike. Definitely that the takedown will be a consistent threat throughout the fight. But the guy likes to come forward and he does like to throw shots. So I'm expecting I'm expecting a chaotic fight, if anything.
You're a fairly well-rounded dude, although we do know you for your striking. How much did the Islam camp and this camp level up your grappling, would you say?
I would say that's two entirely different things. I think from fighting out of probably one of the most COVID restricted countries in the world and being stuck away from my team, preparing for 3 weeks in the United States with a different team, compared with this camp being at home, no restrictions, flying over to New York with 30 of my teammates, my coaches, my training partners. It's trying to compare the preparation is trying to compare apples and oranges.
You look super happy. You look jacked in your photos. You have like an air of confidence about you. Do you feel that? And are you about to show that? Do you reckon like you do seem like a guy who's not only got your team around you, but you've got an aura around you?
Yeah, it's been like a lot of growth, a lot of physical growth, a lot of just emotional growth. I feel like I'm just in a much better place, and that comes by being surrounded by all the people you love and all the people that support you. And it was like going through those difficult times, being stuck away from my team and stuck away from my training camp and my gym, that made me realize and appreciate it so much about how much these people mean to the journey and how important they are to my future success. So I'm so happy because I know because I've paid the price to play. I feel like I'm incredibly prepared, and that confidence, it kind of comes from within. It's something you've been able to pick up on it. It's something that it's not that I've gone out there and said anything wild, like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. It's people can feel it. It's a quiet confidence that can only come from within.
Does 55 helped? Are you back at home now?
Like the weight class is definitely a weight class that I perform better at long term. I think everyone watching, we all knew the opportunity that was at hand by moving down. There was nothing but an exciting opportunity to move down, and in the division that I saw was kind of stalled, and I was right. Like the division down there at the moment has stalled. There's no real contender head and shoulders above everyone else crying out. It was an opportunity. We're in the sport of risk versus reward, so you have you have to take risks if you're going to try to gain any kind of reward out of this sport, especially.
Is it goodbye for now or goodbye for good for the 45? Are you keeping the eyes open for another opportunity in the future, or mainly we're going to see
I don't
here?
think. Yeah, I just don't think. Nah, I don't think I can go back. I don't think there's 4 kilos extra to trim off.
What's your philosophy like about the game now? Because around the Poirier fight, there was this real push behind you. Maybe the UFC was pushing you. Everyone was pushing you towards that title. Could still be in your future, but are you trying to just enjoy each fight now? Is it like too much when you have to always think about how you're going to get towards the title? Like, how does it work mentally?
It's time to rebuild, like that. Like, I was talking title and stuff like that because in practicality, I was there. I was one fight away from a title shot. So it's time to rebuild. A lot of questions start to get asked after a couple of losses. So I'm happy to very aware of my position, and I'm happy to answer those questions. And the next logical question is, does he deserve to be in the rankings? And so the only way you can answer that is by beating a streaking up-and-comer who's chomping a bit for his opportunity at the rankings. So I'm very, very aware of my position, and I'm happy to answer those questions. So I would say, like, once I answer that question, then the next question starts getting asked, by the fans, who in the rankings do you want to see him fight, or who do you think will be a tough challenge? But yeah, I'm focused for now on the next test at hand, which is to prove my position in the division.
You've had some crackers already in your career. Is there anybody who you feel, when it's all said and done, you have to stand across from, like an RDA sort of legendary figure, or is there or young up and comer? Is there anybody you just look at and think that'll be a banger? We've got to do that one day. Not
particularly. I know there's just a lot of exciting names in my division, and it's more. That's like the beauty of the UFC, in that the fans get excited for a fight, and the matchmakers of the UFC put the fight together. It's not like some of these other combat sports where we don't see that happen. That's the benefit of being a UFC fan, is that I feel like you get to see what you want to see. The majority of people want something, and it happens. So that's been the consistent thing. It's not like I've gone out and hunted these bigger name guys or these fights. It's the fans that have come and put these fights together.
I was speaking to a fighter recently. I mean, you would have watched both of Israel's fights with Alex Pereira, and do you think it's going to maybe be less close than people are making out? Because Izzy probably should have won that first fight, and he got caught in the second one, but he's got a hell of a lot more experience in the octagon. Do you think Israel surprises a few people on the weekend with how he makes it look?
Yeah. Like, yeah. Well, he's he's got the bragging rights for now, as Israel has said. That's the thing about it. But in terms of like actual skill and actual experience, you would have to side heavily with Israel. And it's funny the amount of people that don't actually do their homework, like yourself, and go back and study these fights and have a look at these fights before the weekend. I feel like, if you go back and watch these fights, opinion changes pretty quick of the outcome of this contest.
Nice one. We're going to wrap up with a quick fire about some of your UFC colleagues, if that's all right with you. So, who's the hardest hitter in the UFC?
Francis Ngannou.
That's the only sensible answer, and it's what everyone says, to be fair. Who's the funniest?
The funniest? Who is the funny? There's not that many funny guys. I'm gonna say Paulo Costa's getting pretty good. I'm really like his trolling sense of humor.
All right. Who's the most annoying?
The most annoying, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to tell. You don't know in these guys. Like you definitely like Aljamain Sterling gets a bad rap um in the media and stuff like that, and by the general fan consensus. But that's a guy that I've met at the PI numerous times, and he's a good guy. He's a very good guy, easy to talk to, and very likable. So it's like very different how you meet these people. You see them online in comparison to where you meet them.
Who's the hottest?
The hottest,
Yes.
I'd say my teammate Carlos Olberg.
Gotta respect it. Who would be the best movie star?
You gotta respect that, man.
Who would make the best movie
best
star?
the best movie. I think Conor McGregor's. I think he's got his hand up. I think that could be the best movie star.
Who would you most like to have dinner with?
Most like to have dinner with. Probably Tai Tuivasa.
The legend. Who would you most want by your side in a street fight?
Tai Tuivasa.
That's an excellent choice. And who is the most interesting character?
The most interesting character. I think Israel's a pretty interesting guy. I'd say Israel.
Who's the most interesting female fighter in the UFC?
Most interesting female fighter. I'd say maybe Macy Barber.
Why'd you say Macy?
Well, I kind of have seen her development through over the years. And, this is a young girl who's been doing it her entire life. I remember I was in Denver in 2015, and she was, fighting. She hadn't even fought professional at the time there, so it's very cool from the outside looking in to see her career and her kind of road to success.
Who has the best fight IQ?
Maybe Kamaru Usman, I'd say.
That's a cool choice. And finally, your dream fight, past or present, any weight class?
Ooh. Dream fight. Tank Abbott.
Awesome answers, Dan. I appreciate it, mate. I'm so sorry about the internet. This has only happened once ever. So annoying that happened with you, because it's always cracker to interview you. Thanks for your time and good luck. Great to see you back, and you're the man. Cheers.